11:59.
GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com.
Shit.
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song. Is your song.
Well, is that gonna ever happen? Okay, there we go. I think we're still good to go. Maybe not. Wow, is my computer running this poorly? I guess we'll close Gilded. And we'll say hey to everybody joining us live. We're getting started here. Moving everything over to the Substack so it's a little easier to see. I guess it's easier to just grab it this way. So every weekend or every Friday evening, midnight Eastern, we go live. We chat about what has been going on this week with a focus on Second Amendment. And this week we have quite a bit of stuff to chat about. So I'm going to put it into a place called Substack, which is essentially one of our places that we post things. It's a blog platform. And it gives us a better way to format, or a better system for formatting the stuff we're going to go over tonight. And it's slowly showing up here on the screen as my slow computer and slow internet work together to create this post. I'll tidy it up after a bit, I guess, but let's at least get it posted. I'll tidy it up after a bit, I guess. All right, well, that's as tidy as it's going to get. And we'll see if it ever publishes. Is this my computer or is this the internet? We'll say hey to the co-host. How do we get this guy back on here? First, I got to bring this over. I guess do this and then do this. And we'll say hey to the co-host who joins us every week. He hears the beginning intro music and comes running. He's got little stairs now that he can run up here, run across my lap and onto his little place. So he's joining us. Notice there's 3 New York flags back there and a pair of tiny Crocs, but they're not for him. They're for a future giveaway, probably. That's what he said. So we'll bring that over there. We'll throw a little puppy down here in the puppy cam, co-host puppy cam, and we'll get into it. So we did post everything over here at Substack, and we'll throw a link out here in the side chat for anybody that's joining us live and wants to follow along, or if you're in the future and want to check out where we posted it. This is what we're looking at. So we've got our, wow, it's taken forever. We'll take a look at the Second Amendment stuff that happened this week. Then we'll talk about the videos and things that happened over on YouTube that were focused on the Second Amendment. Then below that, we'll talk about the stuff that was focused on guns. Then we have some military and some radio shows that we listen to. And then we'll talk about some of the stuff that we did this week. Wow, this is really, really, really taking a long time to load. Probably should have got this all ready before the show, but I didn't. So appreciate everybody's patience here while it loads. What I will do, though, is for the people that are joining us live on the main YouTube channel, is I'll start a poll. And this will give everything a chance to load here and at the same time slow everything down. So how was this week for 2A? It was a crazy week. A lot of stuff happened. So let's see. Where'd my mouse go? We'll grab that and go great. Weak for 2A. Good. Spell it right. Good. Weak for 2A. Just a okay week for 2A. Or was this a bad week for 2A? And you know what? This may depend on where you live and who you care about, where you're focused, what you're paying attention to. Every time you hear that noise, that's me getting screwed out of something that I got a bid on, and it's like a spike going through my wallet. So it's stuff I'm losing every time that noise happens on this phone. That's me losing money. It's horrible. If you want a super chat, that helps make the opposite happen. We'll throw one of these biscuits. It's called the Nutro Mini Bite. It's made out of, don't listen, roasted gizzards. But don't listen to that. Every time somebody super chats, this dog will get fed a baby gizzard bite. Oh man, hopefully we won't hear any more of those noises. I've got about 8 things. I'm not even trying to look, but I got about 8 things over there being bid on. Why won't my camera move? I'm moving my mic all over the place, but the camera's not moving. Either get up or get down, buddy. You're a bad co-host when you go up or down all the time. All right, so I think that might have given us time to check out what's happening over here, but if not, we'll mention one more time that there is a poll over here that you can now vote in. Looks like early voting is for a good week for 2A. Feel free to leave a comment in the live chat there with why you're saying what you say, why you're voting for what you vote for. And I'm looking here, and this is pretty bad. So I am going to take a second to format this. I can't deal with it being that junked up, so we'll just edit this post real quick. There's just no way to tell what this junk turned into a giant paragraph. And this has to do, is this Substack's fault or is this YouTube's fault? Well, it's YouTube's fault because they've got horrible, horrible formatting, and none of it moves over to the next project. So let's see. So, man, this is just a mess. Let's see if I can get it out of YouTube any better in a different way. So I'm going to click this to see more. I'm going to go down to all of this. This is what we're trying to get here. And see how it's all kind of formatted here? We're going to copy it because that's about all we can do. And then I'm going to try to, load it like this. Get all of this junk out of here. That's just a big mess right now. And try to paste without formatting and see what happens. Okay, that's a lot better. So we'll update that. We'll just leave it. And we'll jump back into it. Okay. You published, right? What are we waiting for? Oh, we're going to hit that button. All right, a lot of people won't edit their things while they're live. I don't care. I'll do it live. Hopefully this teaches how real life is, that you have just magically blink and have all your stuff work right away. Takes a little bit of time, but it gives us a chance. Man, that's losing smart money right there. This is a way to say thanks to the Patreons. Make it possible for us to spend time on this stuff, because it does take a little bit of time sometimes to get this stuff all put together. Is there immediate outcome? No, not really. The Patreon support makes it possible, but it's certainly not profitable. So do appreciate the people that are interested in seeing, that value this, that appreciate seeing this happen, a summary each week that we're able to do it. So we're on episode 1610, 1,610 episodes of this show, or probably a little bit more or less than that, depending. We post it here on YouTube. We'll post it on Patreon as a blog. We'll post it on the Substack that we just did as a blog. And then whenever we can, we post it as a newsletter as well. Then we attempt, like I mentioned, to talk about 2A focused stuff, gun focused stuff that matters. And because there's a lot of it, we try to filter through and give you the stuff that's interesting. And then, of course, summary of what's been going on with 2A. That's the real goal. And not always able to do it, but with a lot of resources like the NSSSF and the other people that are out there with a focus on this, we're able to summarize it each week and then spread this around. We put this on all these different platforms, as well as like Minds and Locals and some of the other social platforms that are out there, so that it's there. So that if people are trying to research it, they can. If they just want to try to keep up with what's going on, hopefully it's a little easier. So let's take a quick look at some of the bullet points this week. We got Miller versus Bonta. I don't know, I guess it's Miller versus Bonta. It's a California case. That's essentially their assault weapons ban. And one of the judges in the Ninth Circuit, once again, for the second time, said it's not constitutional. You got 10 days, and then it doesn't apply anymore, essentially. And now California, of course, is going to say, oh, no, we don't believe you. So, the back and forth of the system. And, of course, a lot of people chatting about that, making a big deal about it. It's either the biggest thing ever, the worst thing matter. It's either matters or it don't. But one of the things we got to keep track of, because it will have consequences with other circuit courts. Dang it. With other circuit courts and, of course, other assault weapons bans in other states. Now, during that, the judge showed, or specifically said, this Ryan Busse guy is a big jerk. So that's pretty cool, because he is a big jerk, and he goes around unchallenged often in the media. So great to see that specifically pointed out. Then a couple of interesting things that happened. I don't know how much news they're getting, that the Republicans in the House launched an inquiry into the ATF's rule on who's going to be required to be an FFL, the whole purchasing a gun issue. So there's something to be from the something from the legislative branch which holds the authority over the executive branch. I think not the authority, but at least they have the right to inquire and investigate. So they're doing that and hold accountable, I think, also. I'm not sure of the whole thing there, but that'd be good to have somebody who knows more about that checks and balances situation, talk about how that is good, because it's good to see the checks and balances doing stuff. We get to have more influence on representatives often than we do the people in the executive branch. So then the next one is a representative from Montana introduced 5948 in the House that would abolish the gun violence prevention SAR, the Office of Gun Violence Prevention that Biden created, to suggest that guns are having anything to do with violence, and that is somehow more important than the fentanyl deaths or the violence from other issues or other things. Well, let's see. FBI released the 2022 Uniform Crime Reports, and there's lots of interesting information from that, including that violent crime has gone down 1.7%, which, depending on your perspective, is a lot or a little. That 16.4 million background checks happened for firearms in 2022. That is down from 18.4 in 21 and 21 million in 2020. So again, that's just data telling us that we're seeing a decline in 4473s. Then we've got the federal survey of 140 million people participated in, let's see, the federal survey, this must be a different federal survey. This is all from NSSF, so probably when I formatted it over, it didn't come out in the right bullet points here, but I think this is a separate federal survey. It says that over 140 million people participated in wildlife activities in 2021. So essentially kind of switching topics here, and now not talking about crime or purchases, but now talking about who participates in what kind of outdoor activities. 46.2 million people age 6 or over went target shooting. That's interesting because, why do they mention that's all ages? So I wonder how much of that is kids, because there's probably a lot of kids that participate in shooting sports. Then it says 39.9 million people fished, which is interesting, I guess. Probably would be more interesting to see if that's going up or down or what. And then, and like where it is compared to historic highs and lows. And then 14.4 million hunted. So again, it's interesting to know. I think it's always been that there's been less hunters than fishers, but where's that 14.4 million? I'm assuming it's down because it usually is, but we don't know. I don't know. Then it says 148 million people participated in at least one type of wildlife watching activity. So we certainly have, I think that's there to show that we have a lot of potential access to people. Like, hey, look, you like looking at them critters, why not blast a few of them? Or maybe let people know, hey, you like looking at them critters? One of the reasons they exist is because people like blasting them, keep all of them around. Or, something like that. Then we've got $394 billion into the economy. So this is all this study from some federal study saying how good the outdoor economy is. So $400 billion into the economy. I'm not sure if that's just something they do all the time or what the hell, why they're talking about this with NSSF. So it's either, I think they do it like once every 10 years or something. So then it says this is a huge leap from the 156 billion reported in the last survey of 2016. Yeah, so they happen like every 5 years, and it was 156 billion. Now it's 394. So how much of that is inflation, and how much of that is more participation? All right, so now we have to talk about Massachusetts. You could say Massachusetts because their House passed H 4135. They've named it 3 different things in the last 2 weeks as part of their way of trying to smash it through. It was interesting. We went live, and we went live for the 5 hours or something of the, I guess it was the House committee debates. So beyond, with the testimonials were last week, and the debates amongst the representatives were 5 hours long the other day, and was that Wednesday? And right off the bat, the first thing they did is get challenged that none of it can be paid for, that they put it through a part of the committee the committee that approved it in the first place, or that created it in the first place, is in charge of financially making sure things work. And they put no financial tests on it. They decided that it would be less than $100,000 worth of cost for the state. So therefore, they didn't need to do any financial estimates or costs or any of this time it would take to do any of that, or any of the justification for any of their numbers or any of that. They just said, oh, we don't have to worry about that. And when they were challenged on that at the beginning of the committee meeting, they essentially voted with one of these, like, we're going to vote with the yays and nays if we need to pay attention to this or not. And they essentially said, yeah, we're not going to pay attention to that. So let's just move on. Let's just do it without any rules like that. So it was brought up a couple of times, but they weren't allowed to really care about that. They were supposed to just ignore it. And I don't know if that has something to do with the Senate has the purse strings, but I thought the House had the purse strings. So I'm not really sure how that goes. But essentially they went for 5 hours and then unceremoniously passed it, as everyone assumed they would. But it was interesting to see, different people's dance and different people's tactics, and the number of people that were involved on both sides, and the type of people involved on both sides, and the passion and the interest and the lack of interest, and the paid like promotion that the other side really, just gives it the attention that they're paid to give it. So anyway, it was an interesting thing. Unfortunately, if you live in Massachusetts, pretty scary, because now that is having momentum to move on to the Senate, and then of course the governor will pass it. So I got one more step before it's essentially the worst law in the world or in the country. So talking about that, I don't know how many people are even paying attention to it on the national scale, but there was a couple of things by watching the whole 5 hours. And then thanks to our Patreons that gave me the chance to just say, fuck it, and run a 5 hour live stream and kind of watch it. I did some things here and there, but I was essentially paying attention to it the whole time. And one of the common threads through each of the not testimonials, but each of the things that the Congress people had brought up, or the witnesses that they brought up, but it was mostly just Congress people, they all brought up the same thing, this talking point that Massachusetts is the safest state in the country, which is debatable. Damn it. Is the safest state in the country. And, I'm losing money every time that thing beeps. Is me losing a thing at an auction, and the auction runs for another hour, and I'm over here not doing it. So again, thanks to our Patreons who are allowing me to just hemorrhage money right now. So anyway, their talking point was that the state is the safest, quote unquote. That's what they're saying, and it's due to their awesome gun laws. And if anybody doesn't see that is set up for some kind of dumbass little situation they're creating, then it's frustrating that people aren't paying attention to that. So that's definitely coming. It's pretty obvious they're telling us that move is on the way. So it was pretty horrible to watch that, but on to the Senate, as they say. So in Ohio, they got a couple of things going on, but the one I wrote down was that they're considering dropping taxes on firearms and gun-related stuff. So good to go, Ohio. I'm going to take, well, I guess I'll read the rest of these. New Mexico governor had her BS challenged, her distraction challenged, and then it wasn't challenged, and now it's able to stay in effect. They said, oh, you're good to go. You can just change the rule, law, or whatever whenever there's an emergency. So she said, guess what? There's still an emergency. So you've got that going on. Now, again, is it worth having a full conversation on that? I think so, because I'm not sure what's the status of that. If the sheriffs and all them said, we don't care, we're not going to enforce any of this. You can't make us. And essentially, it only applies to a few like parks or something. I think that's how it came down. But still, she's running around trying to smash her tyranny on people, wipe her tyranny on people, and not that it's worth attention, but it's worth understanding so that we don't have that happen more than once. So anyway, that's going on there, and this comes from NSSF's government. Well, some of this comes from NSSF's government relations, which is got it linked here, which is a project that they do to help people track all the different junk that's going on out there. Mostly bad, but some of the good stuff, I guess. So of course they had to desecrate a flag and their stupid ass artwork, but whatever. People think that's fucking cool or whatever. But below that, you get a fairly interactive looking thing. You get this map that eventually it's using some kind of code that's going to take forever to load. But then it'll be a little bit interactive and give you an idea of what political action is happening, I guess. Like we got 2 bills in Arizona. There's 1 in California, 8 in Texas. I don't know what these are actually. So here you go. Click on the arrows to vote the details. So, I'm scrolling. See, their coding is weird, and I'm zoomed in, so it's not going to work real good. But you can go look at that link if you want. Did I already link it? I'll grab this real quick and drop it in the chat for people that might want to look at it. And before we dig into the next section of the show, which will be the stuff that was happening on YouTube that was focused on Second Amendment issues this week, we'll take a second to say hey to the people that are joining us live. So I'm going to flip over to here. We've got the, what do you call this thing, poll going, if you want to join the poll. A lot of people will charge you maybe a quarter, maybe up to $25 to vote in their polls. We don't believe in that. We don't play that way. So we've worked it out with YouTube tonight and tonight only. The poll is free. So if you're here and you want to participate in the poll, you're allowed to click on it and vote on the poll. It's absolutely free, and you won't be charged anything for that. Feel free. Now, if you want to super chat, that's totally different. That charges you money. If you want to use your capitalism to redistribute your financial resources to what we've got going on over here, every super chat not only will help us defeat all those auctions I'm losing, but they'll also give this dog one of these pieces of gizzard pellets. So we've got a bunch of mini bites made out of gizzard. Oh, I did it freeze up as soon as I said they were made out of gizzard. And here's another, hold on. I'll give people an example of what it's like when they super chat. So let's say a super chat happened. We would go, what? And then we would go, thanks for the super chat. And then we would cram that in that dog's mouth. And then here's another piece of gizzard right into his mouth. Can't find his mouth all the time. It's little. It's right in there. Just saying, that's what would happen. He's got this bag of treats. He's a good boy, so he's not just going to wail into that bag of treats, even though it's sitting right there. But Then thanks to our Patreon. So with that, we'll dig into the people that are doing stuff on YouTube that is focused on Second Amendment. First thing is, guess what? Brooke Cheney, who does the Suicide Prevention Saturday project each Saturday in the afternoon or evening, depending on what part of the country you're in. Brooke will do a quick, sometimes 20-minute. I think she may have gone an hour if she has an interview or something, but most of the time it's like 20 minutes or sometimes even less. And it's a quick, consistent focus on mental health awareness and, of course, suicide prevention, so that we can have we're more comfortable and we're able to have conversations excuse me, about the 2 out of 3 deaths that come from suicides. And the antis, of course, are going to stand on those graves, and often they don't even realize that they're putting suicides in half the time when they talk about other violence. And Brooke brings up points each week to talk about how to challenge that happen, to be more comfortable, and how to better create awareness about the situation, to not only end the debate about guns from people who are just not aware that guns aren't the problem, that lots of other things are the problem, but really to do the other part, to help people that are in stress, to make mental health more normalized. So that same way we would talk about, oh, I got a cut on my arm, or I broke my finger, we could talk about, this dog is really giving me problems where I'm not sure if I should keep doing this show because of the way this dog is a co-host and he won't sit up or sit down all the time. He's going to be doing whatever he feels like. It's hard for me to keep moving the camera all the time, right? Be able to talk about stuff like that. All right, so speaking of that, Ghost does a show every Tuesday, Ghost Tactical. He does some other stuff, some polls and whatnot. And he posted a few shorts here recently with people. I'm assuming this guy's a SEAL, talking about their normalization of mental health and their awareness of both physical and emotional issues that come up and can be issues with someone post-stress of any type, but in this case, military people that are coming up with it and helping to normalize it, helping to make doctors the same way that people in combat situations were able to change opinions on tourniquets. They've changed opinions on traumatic brain injuries, how people and what happens when people get brain injuries, which have been studied for a long time with like a lot of money. When you think about professional sports, there's a lot of effort and time put into traumatic brain injuries. But then that just developed exponentially with the global war on terror, where there was a lot of dynamic room entries and IEDs and situations where people were in and around confined areas with pressurized changes. So, and at different altitudes, like it exponentially changed people's, doctors, physicians' awareness of traumatic brain injuries and how to be aware of them, how to prevent them, how to monitor and diagnose. So the same thing with that, with other aspects of mental health and with the people's relationships and their with their spouses and with their children, with their parents and with their employers and employees and with their units and with their brothers and sisters out there. Again, there's been lots and lots of gain and awareness created. People are able to normalize the talking about these things. So Ghost posted like a series of these things to help keep that, to get that across to people. And that's big. That's super big. People on the other side will often be told that we do nothing, that we don't care. And of course, they're not paying attention to the exponential changes that have occurred over the last, let's say, 6 to 10 years based on what I just explained there. All right, so moving on to Dr. Yamane was on the EDC Everyday Conversations podcast. Pretty decent conversation. Lots of different things to talk about there. This week is actually, oh man, how many of these things am I going to lose? I'm blaming you, puppy. I'm blaming you. He could be on some kind of another app or something, and he could be stopping me from getting zapped on all these things. I'm essentially hemorrhaging money this whole show. It's horrible for me. Oh my goodness. Oh, I shouldn't even have those alerts on. Is it better to know that you're hemorrhaging money, or is it better just at the end of the show just find out that you bled out during the show? So anyway, this was a pretty good conversation. I was going to say this week was actually I could probably dig into a couple of these for like a half an hour. I'm not gonna, because I'm desperate to find out which of these things I'm losing. And maybe if I make this show as fast as possible, since I'm not getting any kind of super chats at all, I will end this show as fast as possible and just salvage some of these auctions. But like I said, this was one of the conversations that would be very interesting to have a conversation about the conversation. Nobody's doing that stuff anymore, but we used to get that deep where people would have interesting conversations and then there'd be after chats about those conversations to just dive in and really dig into the topics that were brought up. This is a great sample for that, or a great one to start that with. We got a whole bunch from 4 boxes. That guy's, is he going to stick around and be good for a long time, or is he going to burn out? What do you think? Feel free to answer that one if you want. This one is him talking about the Supreme Court issued a decision in the ghost gun regulation case. This has been a crazy week of back and forths, and we need a scoreboard. We need a scoreboard with a running, where you can click on it and get a running total or a running summary of what's been going on, I guess. I'm thinking total because that's exactly what we do in the auctions, is if you click on something, you can see all the bids that have come up. But something like this, one of these issues, it'd be nice to know on a scoreboard who's winning, what's the next thing, and then click on it and know everything that's created the situation that we got today. And trying to keep up with that is tough. Hopefully this show helps, but yeah, I know that's big challenge. So to be honest, I don't remember anymore which one of these videos this guy, he does a video like once or twice a day. So this one was useful enough that I put in my list. I don't put all of his videos in here, but I just can't remember. I'd have to watch it for a little bit. Let's see. Pony's asking what the co-host's name is. Wesley's right. This little dog's named Bacon Bit. I just call him Bacon all the time. Or no, I'm sorry, I call him Bit all the time, unless I'm getting into the van. And then I say, move over, Bacon. It's bonus points if you know what that's all about. But most of the time we just call him Bit, unless he's bad, and then he's known as Bacon Bit, when he's getting scolded. Or if I'm getting in the van, I'll say, move over, Bacon. But if anybody knows what move over, Bacon is, you'll get extra bonus points. You have to be pretty old for that. Wesley saying, bad week in Massachusetts. Hope you appreciate your government that hasn't sold you into that as a whatever. So, yeah. It's only the one guy and then the house. They can often beat their chest and act like they're doing something in the house, get all their sound bites that they need, especially for this federal push, this federal level push that they're trying to be a part of and trying to gain support for, knowing that the Senate then has to do the real work, or the Senate can be where it fails and nobody in the House has to worry about it. So I wouldn't be too concerned. The government that's slow and is deliberate is better than one that you wake up tomorrow and it's just the new thing. So it's not quite tyranny when there's nobody participates. When everybody participates and they don't listen, then you can get upset. But when nobody shows up and they just do what they want, it's hardly tyranny. That's just people using the system and nobody else complaining about it. But I'm not complaining. Massachusetts did have a lot of people show up and you got a big challenge there. But I'm just saying it's not like it's all over. Just one black eye right now, and they definitely got your arm behind your back and they're about to stick your head in the toilet. So time for the rest of the country to understand that we don't have to sit here and watch. A lot of us have influence with Massachusetts. It thinks it's alone or it thinks it's by itself. It ain't. It's completely intertwined with the rest of the country. So anyone who has family or business or travel has an opportunity to talk to the people in Massachusetts, the representatives, and let them know that you represent a number of people in your state that are probably not going to consider Massachusetts in the future for business or travel or recreation or moving, that kind of thing. And see what kind of influence that has when 49 states start stepping up and helping the states that are getting whooped on, instead of just 49 states sitting down and eating popcorn and watching the single states get whooped on. But we'll get national level organizations to promote that, right, at some point. So we got somebody who is doing something, a call to action here. This is Matt from Meet the Pressers. I think you can hear it. Give me some feedback on if I have to move the mic from here. I'm going to leave the mic kind of halfway between me and the computer. Let me know if you can hear this all right. Oh, since I screwed it up, yeah, Chris is right. Move over, Bacon. There's something leaner. He knows when I say it, he has to move because he's always sitting on my seat when I get back in the van. So I got to go, move over, Bacon. And then he moves over and sits next to Mello. But that's classic Bacon television from back in the day. It's probably before Woods. He probably doesn't know about sizzling. Let's watch this full screen.
Hey everybody, Matt Mallory here. I have a call to action. I need you guys to get a hold of your congressperson in your state and let them know you want them to vote for Jim Jordan. Now, obviously, if you live in a state that's got a Democrat that's voting for Jeffries, a good thing for them is that they're all in solidarity. Every single Democrat's voting for Team Jeffries. But on the Republican side, we got 22 holdouts in 13 different states that are holding this up. And if they keep playing games like this, then the Democrats could win. The Democrats could literally be running the House with a majority on the Republican side. It makes no sense. So the states are Arkansas, Colorado, Florida has 4 representatives. Georgia, Idaho, Iowa, Michigan, Minnesota, New York has 4. Not mine, Brandon Williams. Good job. Oregon, Pennsylvania, Texas also has 4, and Virginia. There's 22 in total, 13 states in total, where we need to get a hold of these politicians in those states, or federal politicians, that are, you're their constituent. You're their constituent, and they're your elected official. Call them, tell them, if they're a Republican, they're in your state, those states that I mentioned, tell them to stop playing games, get behind Jim Jordan, because he is pro-Second Amendment, and we need pro-Second Amendment people at the top in the federal government. So that's the...
All right, he's repeating himself, so I'm going to keep moving. Was that audio okay? Did I have to move the mic? And, I don't know who this is, but, I know who Matt is, but I don't know who he's talking about. But if it applies, then do what he suggests. If you're in the know and you think there's a reason to not do that, then it's probably a time to start bringing that stuff up instead of letting not doing anything win, or let the Democrats win, because it would suck to have Democrats in charge of a Republican House, right? It worked okay, thanks. Okay, so I can never tell if this microphone is super sensitive or not. Oh my goodness. Hold on. All right. So next up is the Forge to Freedom podcast, and they talked about 4 questions to ask your next gun control debate. I think the best thing to do is open it and then go to the description of their video, and they link to something from AmmoLand. Wow, look at how slow my internet is. One day I'll get better internet. It's like $30 more a month for better internet, and I just don't know if it's worth it. Gizzard's paying more for his internet, and he's not having any better luck.
Coming to you from the Forge of Freedom.
All right, so if we go down to their thing and click on that, and then click on this AmmoLand. Is this the right one? I think it is. Yeah. So this says there's 4 questions to ask when you're having a conversation from this guy, whoever this guy is. Okay, they're saying that the premise always starts from fixing the gun issue, rather than the broader of people with bad intentions. Oh, did I click on the wrong one? Yeah, I clicked on the wrong one. So that wasn't it. It was this one. 4 questions to ask. Okay. All right. If I click on the right one, it's better. So I don't know if it's the same guy or not. I think it is. And there's 1911 with the finger on the trigger. So what are you going to do? So it says the first question is, has murder really gone down in Australia since their gun ban? I'm just going to read all 4 and let you decide what you think. The next one is, are a lot of people killed with assault rifles? And then the next one is, what do you think is involved with more deaths? Guns, alcohol, or drugs? And then the 4th one is, does England have fewer murders than the United States because of gun laws? And then there's a few paragraphs to explain these 4 questions. So that's the article, or you could watch the 45-minute discussion where Alex and the co-host talk about that. So it's a pretty good discussion, I think. I don't know if those are the 4 questions, but I like the concept of having some questions. We've talked about things in the past about having maybe a selection. So depending on the conversation, if you're talking about gun-free zones, you don't want to have 4 questions that have nothing to do with gun-free zones, right? You want to have at least some question that is on topic. But I like the idea of having some things available to question the other side, so that you can show that you understand their position and are wondering if they understand our position. Anyway, moving on, we got Crump. Sometimes he'll show up on this show. It's kind of late for him. Talking about a gun shop in New Mexico, and I'm pretty sure I've been there. So let's find out. Let's see if I can find out from my YouTube or not. So first we're going to go to the YouTube. I would have had to made a video about it or mentioned it in the description of a video, I guess. We'll click on the little thingy and we'll go Shooter's Den. And I could be thinking about a different Shooter's Den, because there's definitely more than one Shooter's Den, I bet. All right, well, I got a video about the 2 Mac 10s from 8 years ago with 73,000 views, and something about the Boy Scout marksmanship merit badge. So evidently, no, I don't have anything about Shooter's Den, but I'm pretty sure that I've been to that place in New Mexico. Me and Bob went to New Mexico one year, 2018, I think, maybe 19, depends on what year it was. And no, 16 or 17. It was a long time ago. Wait, yeah, it was 16 or 17. And we toured something like 16 of the gun shops in New Mexico, in Albuquerque. I think it was pretty much all of them. There might have been an outlier like north of town, and there was only an outlier north of town that I think we missed. And then perhaps one shop that was a chain that had 3 or 4 locations, and we went to, I think we had 4 locations, and we went to 3 of them, and didn't have time in the day to get to the last one, or it was an outlier also. And we'd been to 3 of them, and they were pretty much cookie cutters. So I'm pretty sure we went to Shooter's Den. If I can remember, it's kind of like a pawn shop, but I might not be remembering it right. Anyway, so Crump has a conversation about Shooter's Den, who's kind of a weird story where somebody went in there with an 80%er or something that they built, and which is not always an 80%er. You can just build up a gun. And somebody brought in something they built up, and the person in the gun shop freaked out, asked the ATF about it, and that started an investigation about what they sold. What they sold at the shop. And I guess they're getting shut down. I don't really remember. Like I said, it's been a long week, but it says in the title that he got shut down. Another one that just came up today is this thing about Vickers. Anybody hear about this? I should probably play a commercial if I'm going to yawn and drink something, but my co-host is really bad at running the controls, and now he's snoring. So, yeah, what am I supposed to do? But Vickers is having an issue right now, and all we hear so far is the alert. Next up is Meet the Pressers and Riding Shotgun with Charlie get together, and they bring on people as co-host, like they co-interview people that they have each interviewed in the past. So it's a second or third conversation between them and the whoever they bring on, but then they together are, they co-interview the person. So it's an interesting project, and they have a couple of sponsors, and they do some giveaways and stuff. So it's an interesting and potentially profitable show. We've won a cert pistol on it, and then I forgot who won the cert pistol. Somebody won the cert pistol and has it. So you know what? Somebody won the cert pistol because we gave it to Clover and Ghost, and then they did something with it to get to SHOT Show or something. So anyway, the Meet the Pressers and Riding Shotgun with Charlie are doing a pretty neat thing. And they had Gabby on. Gabby's pretty awesome. Olympic shooter, been shooting since she was a kid, lived in Venezuela, learned how to become a gun person on her own and to the Olympic level, and then eventually moved from the Venezuela to the United States, and now is a professional shooter and an activist, and just a cool individual. An example of how interesting and multifaceted gun, well, in this case, competition shooting at an Olympic level, marksmanship competition, whatever you want to say, what it can offer a kid. So, pretty neat. And a great conversation with her, because when they do these conversations, it's not the, hey, let's talk for the first time. It's the, hey, let's catch up and then just have real conversations now that we know each other. So pretty cool concept for the show. It's cool when they have people on that are interesting like Gabby. Another one from 4 Boxes. For some reason he's got a US flag backwards back there. I guess he didn't give a shit. And then he's pointing at somebody in some kind of dance get up. And it says history lesson why Indigenous Peoples Day speaks to the Second Amendment or something like that. And I think it was Brooke who said that something about Columbus Day. And I don't know if everybody out there has Columbus Day, but I don't even remember Columbus Day because we don't have Columbus Day here in Arizona. So it isn't national. And I think it's because it's swapped out with other things or just ignored. But I don't even think garbage or anything public was disrupted. Maybe mail was or something. But anyway, I don't know if everybody has Columbus Day still. Let's see. Then we get this guy who used to be with Second Amendment Foundation. Or no, he used to be with FPC, and now he's with SAF, I guess. And, of course, they posted something that's called, and here's the title, capital A, lowercase AF, web launch video, final, in all capitals, 11. And it's still posted with that. That's the fourth largest funded national level organization. And their web launch.
Bill Sack here, projects manager.
And then you go in here, and of course, no links at all, not utilizing any part of the keyword or any of the tagging of anything on the internal system or for humans, or just the opportunity since they're posting a video that got 300 views. Anyway, I'm not trying to be critical, but what the fuck, Second Amendment Foundation. So then we get she fires, regular old person. Oh, we're now into the gun stuff, I guess. So now we got into gun talk. And here we got she fires, let's say in contrast, who has a video with a decent thumbnail. Whenever my computer will get into it, it'll eventually open up. This is what I have to deal with when I'm doing stuff on my computer. A lot of people think that everybody has fast internet or something.
Hello, everyone.
All right, so look at that. It has an actual title it has capitalization and spaces, and it actually is descriptive of what's, that's all about. And then if you click on it, she's got, oh, wow, look, links and emojis, and it's like formatted, and it's taken advantage of, the opportunity to interface with the human, but as importantly with the system that it's placed on, using hashtags and all kinds of descriptors. Amazing. An individual excelling at the whole thing. You can put that in contrast to, if you count them, the the NRA at 245 million, the one in Colorado nobody's supposed to talk about at 65 million, NSSF at, or I guess that was 16 million, then NSSF at something somewhere, but they do SHOT Show, for crying out loud. And then you get Second Amendment Foundation, and this is their YouTube presence. Come on, man. Let's go to Dragon Man. And they got these cool little keychains with their dragon lowers. So Melissa's talking about how she made these things up and giving people the opportunity who have their first 50 dragon lowers serialized 1 through 50. They're going to get the keychains 1 through 50 to go along with them. That's kind of neat. Some people wouldn't even bother making cool swag like an aluminum keychain that's, small AR-15 lower. But they went ahead and serialized them, and then are giving their customers the opportunity. Let's see. Going over to the chat. We probably should have done this when we switched over to the gun stuff to catch up with all the 2A topics. Going back to move over bacon. Yes, the answer was Sizzling. Chris got it first, and it turns out Woods knows about it also. Sizzling was some kind of fake bacon that they made back in the 80s, and there was this commercial where they would go, move over bacon, there's something leaner. And it was this garbage bacon made out of cardboard. It was just salted cardboard, I think. And Woods is saying that his mom tried to get him to eat it. We got bacon at home. Yeah, right. Let's see. So then Guns Waters out there. Good evening. Rick is saying gun laws don't have anything to do with crime. It's all about power and control. Well, that's for sure. And if you want to look at it that way, that's fine, because it does, that I'm not disagreeing. But if you want to not get people all upset, because like little old lady probably doesn't want power and control of you. She probably just wants less violence in the world. So you can state that if you want, but I'm going to encourage you to not bother with that, because it plays into the people who want us to strike back irrationally. And it just creates a situation where the more times we say that, it seems like that's our only thing to say. But if we say, you know what, it's annoying what they're doing, and it sucks how much taxpayer money they're spending on this, because not only is it unconstitutional, but it's really disarming victims, and it's overlooking the root causes of violence, the mitigating causes of violence. That's a cool way of saying root causes of violence. When somebody says, I don't believe you should have a gun, that you can say, just a gun, huh? Only the gun? And then they'll go, what do you mean? Well, why aren't all violent? If someone's violent, why would you only take away their gun? That seems like that would get them mad. Why are they going to take away your knives and stuff? Why not get rid of the mitigating causes of violence? Let's help them before they get violent. That's how we solve this. But now they want to take away just one item. That's another way to say it. So I'm not going to tell you how to say it, but I'm just going to offer you that opportunity, or that alternate way of saying it. What's Wood saying? I saw Gizzard say something about Vickers. Essentially, Vickers and some other people got charged with building full autos or importing full autos without the intent of giving them to some law enforcement to check out for familiarization or training or whatever the law enforcement might use something like that for. And, so that happened. And then, of course, it got explained by one of the news people who pays attention to every news article as soon as it happens. So whether or not there's any details to it, we don't know, because it just barely happened and now everybody's talking about it. So is it good that we're constantly paying attention to everything, or is it annoying that we're constantly paying attention to anything? But it's an important dude, so it came up. So then Woods is saying we do Indigenous Peoples Day at school. Right on. I'd rather do that than Columbus Day, but that's just me. I got a chunk of Italian in me, so I'm allowed to not care about Columbus Day, I think. Just like She Fires Genuine, she's my favorite new 2A person. I don't know if she's new anymore. It's been a SHOT Show already. Imagine a world where Charlie takes over for Paul and the Second Amendment Foundation gets way better. I don't know. Charlie would be a good co-host for sure, good regular on stuff.
Hey, did you know that you could help support our future projects and let everyone know you're a fan of what we do? Check out our print-on-demand store. We have a tab here on YouTube. When you click on it, you can choose from a bunch of different items. We have shirts and posters and coffee mugs. Click on the one you like. When you find the design you want to put on it, choose a color and a size if it's appropriate. And when you purchase these items, a portion goes to help fund our future projects. We really do appreciate your support. You get some cool stuff. When you get that stuff, post pictures here and on other platforms, and we'll hook you up next time you order from our Gear website store. Thank you for your support of gunwebsites.com. All right, is that any better? Do you hear anything now? Do we hear anything? Anyone hear anything? Questioning if you hear anything. Let me go over here. I hear stuff. You don't hear nothing? Look at all those New York flags. That's a pile of New York flags right there. Flags right there. Okay. So now we'll go back to everything over here. What do I got to do? I got to go to here, and then here, and then here, and then here, and then here. We'll cram the puppy down there. Then we'll get rid of the puppy over here, and we're going back to here. Yep. Yeah. He says he wants a biscuit. Give the dog a gizzard biscuit for being so good. Thanks everybody for the feedback. I don't know how far back did I lose sound there. Anybody remember where we were? I was essentially talking about this Texas shop and how it was so good. And dude from Gun Blast was showing us the gun shop in Texas, and he didn't really show us the event. So now we'll move along. Every weekend, Foss does a live show for the overnights, the people that work late shift, people that are insomniacs, people that might just be up for whatever reason, looking for something to listen to. And he alternates every other week. It'll be the Mouse Party, which is a non-top, just a conversation that happens about what everybody's chatting about that night, or the overnight show, which typically has a subject, a topic, and creates a conversation about it. So it's a great project, and
I don't know how many. I guess it's up to episode 66 of the Mouse Party, but I think it's even more than that with the overnight. So thanks to Foss for keeping something going for people in the overnight, people that are alive, kicking in the evenings and the overnights, and then also for keeping an interesting conversation going about guns. You can check that out on Saturday evenings, a couple hours after Brooke Cheney does the Suicide Prevention Saturday show. Once a while, I guess now they've been doing it actually pretty often, so it's more than once a week. But every so often, our Arizona Game and Fish Department, which is responsible for a bunch of stuff here in Arizona, posts these online episodes of Arizona Wildlife Views, which is a TV show from back in the old days. And it's an awesome show. If anybody remembers Arizona Highways Magazine, which was a really elaborate, like a really heavy photography magazine, heavy photographic magazine. I don't know how to say it. It's kind of like National Geographic, but obviously focused on Arizona exclusively. Arizona Wildlife Views was sort of like that. At least it was a high quality production on TV, on different types of television here in Arizona over the years, and just a great spectrum, I guess, of diverse topics about wildlife and environment and what the Game and Fish Department does. And now that they're doing it online, it's pretty much just as good. It's weird now. It's a little bit different, but it's pretty decent. So they're on episode 6. I don't know if your state does one or not, but it's probably not as good as our state. You could watch our states, though. And if you know about your state doing one, let people know, because these portions of our government are like the most useful portions of our government, or at least the most interesting portions of our government, at least. Let's see. Then we get, here's the eclipse. This is also from Game and Fish. Probably get copyrighted for this, but there was a solar eclipse this Tuesday, I think. And we didn't get the full circle of the corona or whatever it's called. We got this sliver like this here in Arizona. I thought this was a pretty creative way of showing it, because it's kind of better, boring to watch an eclipse because it just kind of happens. Let's see. So now here's an interactive portion of the show. So it's a good thing the volume is back. Now you get to be part of the show. Listen to this segment, and then you decide in the comments, you answer in the comments what you think it's all about.
Hey everybody, Matt Mallory here. So a little bit of update on all the ammunition things going on in the past 3 weeks. So just in 3 weeks, on the October the 3rd, Tuesday, I broke that UTM is no longer going to be selling ammo to civilians anymore. They got that edict from the ATF, being one of their master instructors on the law enforcement side, as well as one of their only master instructor on the civilian side, traveling the country teaching and certifying instructors on the civilian realm. I got a call from one of the directors on the 3rd of October, which was Tuesday 3 weeks ago, a little over 3 weeks ago, saying that that's what's going to happen. So I broke that story and let everybody know. Tuesday the 10th, a week later of October, we had 8 tractor trailers in Texas blow up. Kind of weird. Friday the 13th, Hornady plant in Nebraska had an explosion. So we have that issue happening. And then also on the 13th, reports started coming in that Winchester, who runs the Lake City ammunition for the Army, was told by the federal government that they cannot sell ammunition commercially anymore under the excess, and wondering if that's because of what's going on overseas. Quite possibly, but regardless, it's definitely a hit, because they do about 30% of the ammunition for the civilian realm. And then, last but not least, on Monday, the 16th, we had reports that Vista actually announced that they're going to be selling, Vista Outdoors is going to be selling off all their brands. So CCI, Remington, Federal, and Spear are going to be sold off to a foreign entity, foreign company. It's getting weird, man. I don't know, 5 different stories just in the past 3 weeks regarding ammunition. I really don't like to be a conspiracy theorist, but this is just all coming to head, all coming together. I put my reloading class up on the calendar prior to. I did one back during COVID too, because ammo was hard to find, ammo was expensive. This this is the time. Get into reloading, learn how to reload, store up on your ammunition, make sure you're out there. Just went down to the range a couple days ago, practicing with my wife and our daughter, making sure that they knew all about the guns and safety and shooting. So practice, get out there.
All right, well, we're ending it there. But so essentially, he's suggesting that there's some kind of deep-rooted thing going on here. Do you agree? Or I suggest there's no coincidence, that it is just coincidence, and that our brains tend to see patterns, period. That's just how our brains work. Doesn't seem like any kind of strategy to do these random things as if any of them are going to do anything to add up to a real problem or anything like that. So feel free to leave some kind of comment as we go here on whether or not you think that there's something to worry about with it. I think there's ammo shortages have happened off and on forever, literally forever. And people that had just got into this a couple of 5 years ago, people that got into this 10 years ago, people that got into this 15 years ago, people that got into this 15 months ago, they're only going to go through as many ammo shortages as they're going to pay attention to. But there's primer shortages, there's 22 shortages, there's 5.56, there's 7.62, or I mean, there's 5.45 by 39. There's 7.62 by 54R. There's been different things that affect different people. There's been, cowboy ammo. People don't even pay attention to cowboy ammo, but guess what's the first thing that manufacturers quit producing when there's any other issue? So cowboy shooters, they just never find ammo. They're always appreciative of when they can find anything. There's others people that are in the same boat. The people that shoot 10 gauge, I'm sure. They probably have to accept whatever price they see whenever they see it because there's so little of it. But anyway, so we're going to see things happen, and people have heard about ammo shortages, and this is a situation that can disrupt the typical, the normal. Does that make it a shortage? The shortage comes from the people reacting funny, and there's been people that throughout the years have been upset about the whole knee-jerk reaction and exploitive tendencies, and I guess the casual nature that people will put to this concept of shortages because, again, if you're a bunch of new people and you're all talking to each other and they're all, every time a bunch of new people get together and start talking about stuff and there's nobody around to put them in check, then they get all upset and they start thinking that the sky's falling. I mean, how long you been around? How many sessions of this have you seen? I asked about this when the first story came up, just because I could tell there was going to be some issue with just the one story. So by the time you get, he's saying 4 stories. I've only heard 3 of them, but if there are 3 or 4 stories, there's going to be that many people that think this is some kind of issue. So let us know in the comments, or don't care. So next, we got Tactical Response posting about what they're going to be taking to the tactical games. So we don't see enough competition stuff, and we certainly don't see enough of the alternative and the new and the modern course competitions that are happening out there. We hear a little bit about Battle Buddy 3-gun, at least recently, but very little about the tactical games, and that's because most of the people on YouTube are fat people, and nobody's wanting to do the tactical game stuff. And the people that do the tactical games are only posted on Instagram to each other, and they don't care about what's going on YouTube for the most part. They aren't getting interviewed very often, so I don't think it gets much attention. But it's essentially a really hardcore kind of what is that called? It's sort of a what's that name thing called? What's the name of those exercises that everybody was into? The not BJJ, but the BJJ of exercise classes. So tactical games are sort of the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu of competition shooting. 4570 is becoming sparse. Yep. Well, that's one of those ones that gets sacrificed. Every once in a while, they'll come out with a new gun in 4570, and that'll spur a little bit of production, but definitely one that gets kicked to the curb. Something fit. What's it called? Something fit. CrossFit. So tactical games is sort of like the CrossFit of competition shooting. People that are in it, and they don't really care about other people, and the people that aren't in it could care less about them. So it doesn't get much love. I don't know if you pay much attention to it. So I think it's cool that tactical response dudes are aware of it. They're participating in it, incorporating it into their situation, it seems like, and then doing some before and after, some pregame and some look at the gear that's involved, because they wear weighted vests, and I'm sure their competition stuff is more I don't know what the word is, like more rugged or something, because they do some weird stuff. They'll be crawling and jumping and climbing over stuff, so I'm sure their stuff has to be a lot more rugged, but then also a lot more has to attach to them a lot more than the other person's stuff. Flat stuff flapping around or being loose isn't going to work with tactical games, I assume. They're also doing a lot of stuff like weighted bags of stuff that they'll carry around, or they'll do exercises and stuff right in the middle, jogs and jumping jacks and stuff. So it's very athletic. So the gear has to be appropriate to that. Oh, I see Sharon's out there. Good evening. Welcome. So next up is this Gun Owners of America thing. So I don't know what to say. Did anybody watch this? First off, this is State of the Second people, the two people from Gun Owners of America who they hired to do this podcast, and they're marketing people, and they talk to marketing people from companies. So they got on Classic Firearms. So first off, they're like, hey, let's throw a fucking flag on the floor and throw a bunch of guns on it. But then they're like, let's use that as our thumbnail. But then they have this, how long is this? It's like an hour conversation, and it goes back and forth. At first I was like, are you kidding me? And then I was like, all right. And then it was like, what? And then it was like, all right, I guess I see where they're coming from. And then it was like, that's it, I'm done. So it went all over the place. I'm curious to see what people think about this already. This is like the fourth or fifth one of these. If it was a YouTube channel, that'd be interesting. If it was a different organization doing it, I'd be like, oh, that's interesting. It's the Gun Owners of America doing it. So, I don't know. I'm curious to see what people think. Next up is... Oh, you know what? I put this in here. It's just a thing. I don't have a video for it. But did you know that FN is creating another facility, a production facility in South Carolina? So this will be their second production facility in South Carolina. That's FN USA or FN America. So I don't know. That was in the NSSF news. I figured I'd put it down there in gun news. So next we get to the radio shows, and Toby was doing the awareness for the HD, well, it was called HD 4607, and then it was changed to HD 45 whatever. But earlier in the week, he was on Howie's car, and then he was on Grace Curley, encouraging people to show up at the Capitol to be there for the House debate, and to call representatives and let them know their opinions. And then I think that's all he really did, except that he was texting me during the thing. He was at the place at the Capitol with everybody. So while we were streaming, we were texting a little bit. And then he did do a separate video here letting people know to show up at the thing. So in addition, we had Come and Talk It, the radio show out of Texas, from Austin, Texas. And Michael Cargill is the owner of the shop and the host of the show. He's also the Cargill in the Cargill bump stock case. So in this episode 8 of the podcast, they talk about the bump stock update. And let's see, there's a couple of comments in this. If you went to his actual YouTube video and looked at the comments, There's a couple of people asking about the infrequency, like the lack of regularity with the podcast. And it sounds like they've just got a lot going on. So hopefully it's not an indicator of anything, and they'll be back to doing it on a more regular basis again. Oh, Baron is out there. We got all kinds of people joining us this evening. Welcome, everybody. Guns Waters saying FN America. Yep. I get it. FN America. All right. So those were the gun radio shows. Next, we'll talk about some of the military interview stuff that I listen to. And I guess problem is I listen to those on the other computer. So I always, they don't show up in my history on this computer when I put this together. This one was pretty good. I listened to this one earlier during this one ended during Gizzard's show. This one started at like 5. Gizzard's show starts at 7, I think. So this one was actually really good. Some dude that went in as a ranger and then went to RCC or something like that, RRC, and then did some other stuff. It was pretty interesting and good conversation. This is like the 3rd time he's been on, so a whole different level of conversation when they can just get into it a little bit different. But there was some other ones. Let's go take a look because I forgot them. We'll just jump into them the old-fashioned way. First off, we would kill this page. So we're going to right-click and open this in a new tab. And then when that eventually opens up, that's what the dog is for. You whoop on a dog and it makes the browser faster. So we're just whooping on the dog over here to get that browser faster. Wow, it's taking forever. Should have whooped him harder. So then we can go down to here and go to the actual channels themselves. Again, I don't watch them on this computer, so they're going to be down the list. So we got Mike, had CIA guy on, and Combat Story had on the first female pilot in Afghanistan. Talk about holy crap. So she starts growing up in Afghanistan and then she starts saying to herself, I'm going to be in the military. And then, in Afghanistan, her dad was cool with it, but pretty much a bunch of other people were like, no. And then she went to the military, and then she was like, oh, I'd like to be a pilot because there's going to be this whole pilot thing. So anyway, it's just really neat. She defied a lot of odds there, became the first female pilot, and just interesting, super interesting conversation. Whenever Combat Story, remember this guy was an Apache pilot, and then he was in the CIA. He has a really interesting, we're just watching commercials, I guess. He has a real interesting interview style. So she didn't have any necessarily like combat flight experience because what she flew wasn't combat. But of course, anybody who flies in a combat theater is going to have stories. So there's lots of interesting stuff, finally. And yeah, great conversation. What's wrong with Puppy? Come here. What's wrong? Mellow's having a nightmare. Great conversation with her. And then Mike had on this dude from the CIA. Interesting. He was like in the CIA for like 7 years. So a lot of times when you listen to these conversations, these people have been in doing stuff for 17 years or something or whatever, 27 years. It's a little different having somebody who's been in for 7 years, but still interesting conversation nonetheless. What's going on here? A little pause that. Get back to, here we go. So there were a couple of other ones, and then nothing on Ed. I'm trying to think if I missed any other interviews. I'm going to probably bring the S4 program in, which is a kind of an awareness for preppers, I guess you could say. Hold on. Holy moly. I'm having a coughing fit. So, as far as projects, hold on. Dang. Okay. Hopefully I can keep going. I guess been an hour and a half. That's about as much as my lungs could handle this week. So aside from so we talked about going live for 5 hours on Wednesday for the Massachusetts committee hearings, I guess, for their horrible gun laws. We also go live on Tuesdays with Clover to talk about content coaching, and we've been talking about SHOT Show. So I think next week or this coming Tuesday, we'll get back on our series of intermediate, talking to people at the advanced level for this kind of stuff. Then we'll get back to SHOT Show again on those shows. Tomorrow we'll have a conversation with Tony, Simon, and Clover, where we answer gun questions. Last week there was a bunch of shotgun questions in there, and a bunch of interesting questions came up with the live viewers. So we'll have, I think, 2 or 3 more questions in the database. If you want to ask gun questions, you can do that at any time at askgunquestions.com. In fact, I can just do this. What am I saying? I have a fancy way of getting that information across.
AskGunQuestions.com is a website that we built back in 2007, and since then, for the last 15 years, people have been able to ask questions of simple to advanced nature, and we attempt to answer them in different ways over the years. Join us now as we start a new series to answer gun questions. So, like I say, we'll answer those tomorrow. After that show, you can look forward to Brooke and the Suicide Prevention Saturday. After that, Hillbilly Up does a show. I think he said he's doing one tomorrow. After that, you can watch Foss. Chris 740, he often does a show on Saturdays as well. I don't know if Travis does his show in the morning still on Saturdays, but She Fires does a show on Sundays you can check out. And we're known to go live over on Amazon once in a while, so check that out if you want. Let's see. So, co-host is in charge of the pause button. I have a set of those buttons where they can step on them and they, the buttons say stuff. So I might work on that going forward. Not soon or nothing, but at some point we'll pull those things out and see if we can't incorporate him into the show, because like right now he's super antsy. I don't know if you can tell, but he does not want to be up here. I'm forcing him to be up here at this point by giving him belly rubs. But Mello's out there, his little friend, and she's having some kind of nightmare, and he wants to go out there and see what's going on and probably bite her. I went out there earlier and he was just sitting on her, so she was laying there minding her business and he was sitting on her like she's some kind of chair. So he's kind of mean to her. But yeah, with that, we'll end this one up. We'll say thanks, everybody, for joining us live. If you're listening to this on the podcast, we encourage you to give us one of them thumbs up or hearts or squiggles or whatever it is over there, because on those podcast platforms, that's how they indicate that the people are listening, that they enjoyed what they listened to. So if you did, please do that. So and for any other show you listen to, because those are more important on the podcast platforms, honestly, than they are on some of these giant social platforms where you're going to get some amount of likes no matter what, which is nice. We appreciate it. But these large platforms could kind of care less about the likes. We're doing it for the robots, literally. But on the smaller platforms, like the podcast platforms, there's actually quite a bit of return. So for every person that likes us over there, or gives us one of the hearts or the thumbs or whatever they are, we really do appreciate that. So again, thanks for joining us on any way that you're listening to us. You can find us on our website. You can find us on all the socials, and give us feedback. We'll be back next week with another review of the week. We'll throw a commercial out here for the store, and then we'll wrap it up for our friend Patriot in the Dark. GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com.
I know we didn't get any super chats, but I'm still going to give him one of these biscuits because he was a good dog. Buy yourself one of these gizzard flavored biscuit bites over on the Amazon. Go check out. Since you're buying Gizzard Bites, you might as well use Gizzards as link to the Amazon. All right, then we throw this up for Patriot each week.
Shit.
Ninja! Ninja! Ninja!
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the walls. The chair is against the walls. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.